Hi, I'm Casey Cuevas. This is my project Content Creator 3 on regulatory compliance. I learned that effective regulatory compliance goes beyond merely following laws. It necessitates a commitment to ethical principles that guide organizational decision making. This understanding aligns with the ideas presented in Joseph Wise's Business Ethics, a stakeholder and issues management approach, which emphasizes the necessity of considering various stakeholder interests in corporate governance. When businesses prioritize ethics alongside compliance, they foster trust and accountability, creating a culture that encourages ethical behavior and minimizes the risk of legal violations. I also discovered that courts play a vital role in ensuring regulatory agencies operate within their legal frameworks. They also uphold ethical standards, reinforcing accountability in agency actions. One surprising myth about business ethics is the belief that ethical behavior is primarily driven by the presence of strict regulations. I used to think that strong compliance frameworks alone could ensure ethical conduct within organizations. However, my understanding shifted after researching in The Ethical Executive by Robert Hoyk and Paul Hersey, which argues that ethics stem from individual values and leadership rather than just compliance measures. This highlights that regulations only establish a baseline for acceptable behavior and do not foster a culture of ethics. Hoyk and Hersey emphasize the critical roles of ethical leadership and personal accountability in shaping an organization's moral climate. This realization shifted my perspective to understand that ethical behavior requires more than just following rules. It demands a commitment to cultivating an ethical culture that encourages responsible actions. Understanding regulatory compliance is crucial for all companies and organizations because it helps mitigate legal risk and foster a culture of integrity. Compliance with laws and regulations not only protects organizations from potential fines and penalties, but also enhances their reputation and builds trust with stakeholders. For example, in the financial sector, the implementation of the Dodd-Frank Act introduced significant regulatory requirements aimed to protecting consumers and promoting transparency. Companies that prioritize compliance with these regulations can avoid costly legal repercussions and maintain customer trust. Another example is the importance of compliance in healthcare organizations, particularly with their regulations such as the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. Understanding and adhering to HIPAA regulations is essential for protecting patient privacy and data security. Organizations that fail to comply with these regulations face severe penalties and damage to their reputations, as highlighted by the increase in fines issued for breaches. This underscores that regulatory compliance is not just a legal requirement, but a fundamental component of ethical business practices. Consequentialism focuses on the outcomes of a decision, assessing the ethicality based on the result produced. This approach advocates for actions that maximize positive outcomes or minimize harm. For example, utilitarianism, a form of consequentialism, evaluates decisions based on the greatest good for the greatest number. This approach is discussed in depth in Business Ethics, a stakeholder and issue management approach by Joseph Wise, which emphasizes the importance of considering the impact of decisions on various stakeholders. Deontology, on the other hand, is grounded in the belief that certain actions are inherently right or wrong, regardless of their consequences. This approach emphasizes duties, rules, and principles, suggesting that ethical behavior arises from following moral guidelines. For instance, the idea that one should treat others with respect and honesty is a core tenet of deontological ethics. Robert Solomon's Ethics and Excellence Corporation and integrity in business, provides insights into how deontological principles can guide ethical business practices by stressing the importance of integrity and moral responsibility in decision making. These approaches highlight different ways of thinking about ethics in business, influencing how leaders and organizations navigate complex ethical dilemmas. A real-world example of regulatory compliance is the implementation of the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, by companies operating in the European Union. GDPR, which came into effect in May 2018, mandates strict data protection and privacy regulations for organizations that handle personal data. A notable case is that of the British Airways, which faced a significant data breach affecting approximately 500,000 customers. The airline had to navigate the compliance process to align its data management practices with GDPR requirements. Several factors influence British Airways' compliance process. Firstly, the complexity of GDPR itself, which includes principles like data minimization, transparency, and the right to access, necessitated comprehensive training and adjustments in their data handling procedures. Secondly, the financial implications of non-compliance, fines up to €20 million or 4% of global annual turnover, served as a powerful motivator for the airline to prioritize compliance. Additionally, the reputational damage from a data breach promoted British Airways to enhance its cybersecurity measures, demonstrating the interconnectedness of regulatory compliance and ethical responsibility. The impact of complying with GDPR has been significant. While the initial cost of compliance can be high, organizations that invest in robust data protection frameworks often see long-term benefits, including increased customer trust and loyalty. This case illustrates that effective compliance not only mitigates legal risks, but also enhances a company's reputation and operational resilience. Thank you for watching. My name is Casey Cuevas, and this has been my Project Content Creator 3.